Hello, I'm Mike Truelove. I'm the Chief Executive for the Hereford Business Improvement District. And today we wanted to put a video out to our 500 member businesses and give them an update about the COVID-19 measures that have been implemented throughout the city centre. It goes without saying, many of those are controversial, and we want to let you know what we've been doing and what we plan to do with immediate effect. So, some background, you will probably know central government made available funding that local authorities had to apply for to implement those measures. And Hereford Council formulated a plan. They consulted with businesses and stakeholders, including the bid, and there were a few key areas when we fed in that we wanted the council to consider. So those were really the mixing of COVID-19 measures alongside the green agenda. So everybody wants to see more bikes in the city centre, but equally we need to understand how that's different to the COVID-19 measures. So we're able to critique and measure and understand those things and what impact one has upon the other. So the other thing was the knock-on effect to traffic around the city. So closing lanes in Blue School Street and so on. That does cause knock-on effects to traffic around other parts of town. And when it was quiet, and as you know, it's getting busier and busier from football, but when it was quieter, those measures will probably has less consequence, but the knock-on effect throughout the city could potentially cause traffic jams all over the place. And also with the closing of the old bridge, that puts additional pressure on the network. But first and foremost, nobody disputes the fact that COVID-19 measures need to be taken. It's absolutely paramount to protect the public and workers in the city, so that goes without saying. But I think we raised concerns about the detail and how that would be implemented. And as I said, the government have guidelines on their website, and the council, it's down to local authorities and Hereford Council to interpret those guidelines and implement them as they see fit. So the power really does lie with Hereford Council in this matter. So for the bids part, as I said, we've been feeding in and we've worked closely with the local authority and given them our views. We've also had a really successful meeting every Monday with the Cabinet and stakeholders and hospitality sector and retailers. Feeding in, and for instance, one outcome of that was a letter to all businesses offering them one-to-one support for those that wanted it in getting their pavement licence with a free assessment of their premises. Particularly the hospitality sector that maybe can't have, can only have a certain amount of covers inside. Obviously, if you can go out onto the pavement, that makes your business potentially easier. But we also acknowledge, that there's a lot of investment as well. But we've been doing a lot of work along those lines. So back to the COVID measures that have been taken, we've heard from a number of businesses about what the impact has been on them. And in a nutshell, we've got grave concerns, having seen for ourselves the measures in Bridge Street, King Street and Broad Street, to mention just a few. So there are three areas that we're concerned with. And first of all, the first one is visual. So Broad Street, King Street, Bridge Street, not mincing on words, absolutely looks a mess. Cones in strange places, barriers have been moved by probably third parties and put in random locations. There is tape flapping across the road. Sometimes cones have been moved right next to the curb rather than their original position, and it looks like a serious amount of roadworks is going on. So at the very least, we would like to see that maintained on a daily basis. It's not conducive to business. It's absolutely not welcoming to our visitors, and it's not the impression that we want to see. And if this is to stay for 18 months, absolutely we can't go on like this. It's just not right at all. So the second area is parking. So many of our businesses absolutely depend on a casual trade that can park, go about their business, and then move on. So whether that's picking up a pharmacy, a bunch of flowers, picking up your lunch, a sandwich, or actually popping in and having something to eat or drink in one of our great restaurants or pubs. So closing off parking spaces in the way that's been done just put pressure on those businesses. And for instance, the elderly or a certain section of the elderly who cannot walk very far, will absolutely value dropping in and going to their favourite cafe, for instance. And we spoke to one cafe owner, and she said it's affecting their customer base, and their customers are really concerned, and they just won't come. And the further risk is, if they stop coming, are they going to come back in the future? So that's parking, and also from the operation point of view itself for business owners. We spoke to a florist who does deliveries. It's added 40 minutes onto her daily routine to go around town to get to where she needs to get to. And further, she's still having to furlough her staff, so she's doing all this on her own, and it's adding a new level of stress on top of the COVID crisis. They really don't need it. The third area is reasoning and logic. So communication, we feel probably could be a little bit better, a little bit more clearer, more often as well. So businesses generally do understand that it is a COVID crisis response, but they don't know, nobody can make sense of really why football is so low. Do we need the same response now? And if so, further, what are the parameters of the response? So what are the triggers to reopen the Oak Bridge? Is it a certain number of footfall? Is it government guidelines? Is it we don't know. So we want to know the parameters and the triggers and how this is going to be measured, and how can we get this changed as quickly as possible. So three core areas of concern here, and having seen the state of the streets for ourselves, and said we've taken what feedback far and wide. We have serious grave concerns, and there are a number of businesses that are really hanging on by a thread now. I think Councillor Kenyon made the point on your Herefordshire. It's three things that now happened. First it was the floods, now it's COVID, and now they feel the closure of parking bays and so on is the third thing, and it's putting a massive amount of pressure on a lot of businesses. So just to recap, we know health and safety is absolutely critical. Nobody's disputing that. What we do have an issue with is are the measures appropriate and conducive to business, or do they need to be revised? We probably think they probably do, and today or as soon as possible. It's really urgent. And we've written to the council to ask if that can be done with immediate effect. If these measures are here to stay for up to 18 months, there's absolutely no way many of our businesses can tolerate that, and a number of them have said they just won't be here. So this urgently needs to be looked at. So that's my update. I hope that's useful. We will come back to you as soon as possible when we know more. Thanks for watching, and keep following us on Facebook for further information. Thank you.